Hello and welcome everybody, I'm Barbarian, and before you can of course see Prince Alva of Basconiaco, our character and a very strong leader when it comes to military topics. However, when it comes to being a ruler, a fairly unaccomplished person. He has taken over Basconiaco and you can see spear in hand, the spear of course of his ancestor Vea. You can see that he hasn't really achieved much. There's not anything that he will be remembered for if he were to die right now, except of course for the fact that he did hold Basconiaco at some point, I suppose, but there's a bit more going on in the shadows. For starters, of course, we do have a hook now on Pope Gregorius VI, because we blackmailed him for his secret that he is not a perfect pope, that indeed Belasquita is his lover. This is a very interesting dynamic, I have to tell you right now, that we may see used or may not see used for the moment. You know, this hook lasts until 1087. I would like to take this as a bit of a hook that is an insurance, right? Should the Pope essentially at some point indeed excommunicate us, we could essentially just come, immediately return into the church. That is the point of that hook for the moment, and I think that is a pretty good use there. But that is just something behind the curtain. Of course, there are more things going on, and one of those things is the fact that Prince Alva Felipe wants to have something, at the very least, that stands on its own and just declares that Prince Alva was here, that he achieved something. This something in the vision of the prince is indeed that we actually successfully fabricate a claim on the entire duchy, hopefully at the very least, you know, and then claim that in a war. This would make it so that the Boscarantia family, that his children all of a sudden would all be eligible to, you know, hold individual counties in this region and secure the way of Santiago, which in turn Prince Alva sees as a duty that of course Emperor Philippe, his father, took very seriously. If he goes through with that duty, if he furthers the protection of the way, I think Prince Alva will be fairly content with his life. Now, will he actually achieve this? Will he actually succeed with this? I don't know. Should we not get a claim on the duchy right here? I'm almost tempted to say that we still just take the county claim and try our best to, you know, succeed in at least something. Because right now, again, as I detailed just earlier, we basically achieved nothing. Now let's see where we can go from here. We have Ramiro looking for education. I think Asna. Wait a minute, why can't you... Are you full? Oh, he is full. What about his wife? Blanche is in our court, and I think this wouldn't actually be a bad education. I will let her educate him in a French style as well. Largely because I think that if she does take the reins, she would educate him in the mannerisms of the Brabantian court as well. So let's go ahead with this, and we could get an alliance still with Emperor Nuño. Now, we haven't broken with Nuño, but I don't want to tie myself as tightly as, you know, this would mean that we would be tying ourselves to him right now. Right, and we are swaying Despotissa Barbara. By the way, it's very interesting to me. Despot Ordonio Estefanier has turned Orthodox. It's a very good decision of his that he didn't do this while our father was still alive, because Emperor Philippe would have been distraught. Now, I do understand, though, why Despot Ordonio would be fairly easily turning to orthodoxy, because he is of course a rival of Pope Gregorius as well. He viewed the last pope before Gregorius as somebody that shouldn't have been pope, and then Gregorius himself is a nightmare, at least as far as he's concerned. You can see him right here. He's still... Wait a minute. Right, this was the... No. Innocentius is, of course, the last legitimate heir, so to speak. This was just the in-between, the stand-in until I consulted in Gregorius. But the point ultimately is, I understand why he would convert, and I think that our character respects that. I think Alva understands, surely, you know, if you live in the East, you will turn to the Eastern Church, in particular if Rome is effectively a demon, right? And we are still trying to sway Despotissa Barbara, because we don't really have a difference in faith there, as we ourselves aren't really a good, you know, faithful person to begin with, and we do need her assistance. She is in control of one of the most important trade regions in the world, so getting her assistance, should we at some point declare war, would be very helpful. Let's try to get that done. While hosting lords and ladies from realms near and far, some opportunities to portray Despotissa Barbara of Helados in a good light have presented themselves. My lord, pray tell, who is the most amiable person you have heard of? Yeah, I have no doubt that I would do this. Despotissa Barbara, without a doubt. We're not arrogant, so this actually, honestly, if you're humble, this definitely should give you stress. Either way, I will say, yes, Barbara, you are a wonderful person. Let me just check something. Now that she likes us a bit more, because ultimately we were just looking for her to like us a bit more, there you go. We all of a sudden have a +1, meaning I can actually end this scheme. And then we still get the alliance, there you go, making it so that we have a fairly strong ally if we were to oppose, you know, for example, Navarra for the lands of Vizcaya right there. Let me just check our other children. I think Horvatsko, I mean, they are a lost cause, they believe in the Pope. I don't think I can personally trust this. What about Brabant? Is this a... Oh, it absolutely is a feasible option, and quite frankly, isn't that fascinating? Wait a minute. Why did it depict it in this way, where supposedly we can actually get a claim? We clearly can't. Very odd. There's no X there, so I was a bit confused. Either way, let's negotiate an alliance with Adele here as well. She actually is in a war. She's attacking for Clef. A minor war, but she easily should be winning this, so I'm not even foreseeing an intervention from our side. Quite interesting, though. If we have to help Brabant, it borders our overall realm, so I don't think it's too unlikely that we would do this. A non-believer secret. You know what? I'm gonna move you out. I'm gonna make you disrupt schemes. I think we know enough about the Pope. We can just relax, at least for the time being, and hope that he indeed does not act against us. And now what is this? The challenge. I'm sparring with one of my soldiers, sweat beading on my forehead when I experience the uncanny sensation of being watched. Looking over my shoulder, I spot my Spymaster, Count Egidio, who waves at me. I walk over to greet him. We talk about our weapon practice for a while, trading tricks and advice. Just as I'm about to leave for another round, Count Egidio's face lights up and he suggests we practice together. Now, he isn't a good fighter, but I reckon that after he has done me such a great service, I mean, he has quite literally aided me against my arch nemesis, I would argue I will without a doubt work with him. I will without a doubt, you know, train with him. I mean, it makes perfect sense. Let's see whether we can win this practice duel. I would love to get this martial lifestyle experience. The upper hand. The sounds of spear clashing against mace echoes. Does he have a mace? Oh, he does not. Okay, but I have a spear, so fair enough. Echoes between the courtyard walls. All eyes are on us. Everyone wants to see their duke fighting his Spymaster. The crowd applauds as I lunge, and their admiration makes me bold. Instead of pulling back, I attempt a new technique I have been practicing. The movements flow through me and into my spear as if we were one. Count Egidio is defenseless before me. Right, I will obviously not insult him. I'll show him not to challenge me again. I don't think so. Let's end it here. Well fought. Maybe at some point we could become friends. I mean, he seems to be a pretty good person, and quite frankly, I currently don't actually have any scheme. He is Gasconiera. He's one of the Italian vassals of ours. I think I want to try to befriend him. Absolutely. Finding a friend in him, you know, somebody that aided me against my opponent is very, very important. And would you look at that? This means Bordel now has Ronzac, which is indeed a new city right here. And let me just verify, by the way. Shouldn't we still have Tartars? You are no longer... Wow, isn't this the city that used to be in the hand of the former Russian slaves? I guess that period is over. I suppose they filtered out, right? That's really the only consequence, I think, that I can draw from this. At the very least, I can't find anybody here. Le Test de Buch is indeed the second city that has been built here. What a shame. I really would have hoped that essentially this just will remain the way it was for generations to come. But maybe they simply assimilated. Mayor Manrique of Tartar is now in charge of that city, so indeed no former slaves whatsoever. And here we are attempting to befriend Egidio. Considering my life's deeds, it is only natural that others should respect me. I'm convinced Count Egidio has also accomplished a thing or two which fills him with pride. Perhaps I should commission a small poem comparing our deeds to illustrate that we are both cut from the same cloth. I think Alva wants to lie about being accomplished, basically fake it until you make it, right? And he wants to compare his accomplishments to Egidio. So I'm definitely on board with this option right here. It's a difficult question, right? To the outside, he would try to give off the idea that, of course, I'm an accomplished duke. I mean, I rule these lands. You know, as you can see right here, have absolute control. You can see it right here because we are an overseer. But in reality, I think he has permanent imposter syndrome. I would be surprised if he didn't, quite frankly. After all, he never actually ruled anything before this period. He was merely the marshal. It's a difficult thing. You know, in events, he's definitely somebody prone to bragging, but I think this is more of a coping trait, you know, than it is his actual nature, because he is a humble person. I might actually have to stick with bragging in the future, even though, or rather because it gives him actual stress, because, I mean, Wouldn't he lie about it? I feel like he kind of would. Is there anything here that we would like to do? I would love to compose a cantiga, honestly. I'm not necessarily against this, but, or rather, I'm not necessarily in a position where I think Alva is naturally drawn to poetry and such, but I do think if we can do it, which we can, we have enough diplomacy and enough learning. Honestly, we're a really good character when it comes to our stats. I think we should do it lonely, or rather exclusively, to essentially emulate our father. I don't think we're doing this because we understand the value of it. I think we're doing it because it's just kind of what you do, right? And you know what? I actually did not even realize that we were the master of the hunt. We are the master of the hunt. I'm excited about that. Nuño is really working with me here. Honestly, that is very, very nice. I was not fully aware that he did that. Oh, and speaking of not fully aware, I will pass High Crown Authority just because the absolute control, the, you know, rule in person, I think is the only way that Alva knows how to rule. I don't think he really understands the decentralized character of the rule that his father had, which yet again is actually an argument as to why he shouldn't be emperor. But all that aside, you know what? Let's just hire some new troops. I was just checking everything there. Let's hire some new troops right here. And then the rest of the money we shall spend on composing a cantiga. This one, I honestly feel like, I don't think noble courtly love, yes, of course, our father wrote about this, but I think Prince Alva wouldn't really know about this topic. He's not a person that really cared about love. And honestly, I love CK3 from this angle. Because if we look at this, our last two characters had no romancing, no seducing, none of that sort. But man, if we weren't involved as Prince Vea, you can have totally different playthroughs, totally different characters, and they will all make sense within the system of CK3. Such a versatile game. I actually think we will write, and this is mispronounced, Cantiga de Escarnio e Maldize. Definitely not how that is pronounced, don't worry about it, okay? A song about satire and slander. A song focusing on themes of satire, whether to make fun of others, educate, or moralize. Cantigas of higher quality in this genre will also net you a relatively equal amounts of piety and prestige than the other genres. I would like to write this and essentially write something that, you know, maybe sort of expresses the fears that our characters has, the fears of being a bad lord, that sort of thing, if we can get that done. I wish to write the Cantiga of the Cantiga de Escarnio e Maldize genre. These satirical songs will give me the opportunity to criticize others or aspects of society I disagree with, whether it's certain social classes, people's hypocrisy, or bad poets. Right, let's find out what we will actually be writing about. I hope that we can write about... see, I would have loved to write about our our nemesis here. Cantigas de Escarnio e Maldize are songs of satirical nature. They can and do mock anything and everything, from other specific people, including bad poets, to society at large. I'd have to make use of my wits to the best of my abilities. Anyways, I've thought about this in the past few days. There are many different themes or topics I could weave into my cantiga, and a few are inspiring me at the moment, but which will help me craft the best cantiga. You know, I just want to put a bit of a light into this. If you aren't really somebody that, you know, cares a lot about poetry, especially early on. Now, I gotta tell you as well, I'm not at all somebody that is really knowledgeable about medieval poetry, but what I can tell you about is that initially I looked at this genre and I said to myself, it's kind of odd that, you know, it would be seen as poetry to ridicule others, you know, that this is something that they did in this scenario. But then I remembered, if you're German, you will absolutely have read a work of his, or maybe many works of his. If you have read Goethe's Faust, you know, so one of the, I think, most important literary writings and poetry of German culture, you will realize, or maybe you actually don't know this because it's not that often discussed, but you may realize that Goethe himself had an entire chapter, which is the Walpurgisnacht, dedicated to the idea of mocking people he simply didn't like. That entire chapter is basically just him saying, yo, that fat magistrate that works over there, I hate that guy. And that is incredible to me. We appreciate poetry, I think, from a very removed point of view today. We look at it, you know, and say, wow, what a noble creature these ancestors truly were. But in reality, I mean, they were humans and they would interweave that, Goethe in a very aggressive, very direct way, but quite the fascinating topic. Now, let's take a look what ridiculing these topics actually means here in this case. The Cantiga, if we do war, will include topics such as battles fought between valiant knights, the anxiety of a soldier separated from the woman he loves, or the everyday lives of armies on the march. Music will include topics related to music and its performance, such as musicians trying to woo fair maidens, comparing the skills of various known musicians, or the process of composing music. And then the urban setting. The Cantiga will integrate narrative elements related to bustling cities, such as having the man fall in love with his beloved while glimpsing at her on the street, or intricate descriptions of the daily lives of the city folk. I gotta tell ya, War is such an obvious candidate. He's a great warrior, he has experienced war, as a marshal. But I gotta tell you, I kind of feel the urban setting. What I mean by that is that we live fairly removed from, the big trade routes of Europe and Rome. That is where depravity sits, right? This is a poem essentially saying only the fool moves to the city, because that is where corruption indeed haunts us, which is why the Pope lives in one. Makes perfect sense to me. The responses of those who have heard my Cantiga have been positive. While they do not consider it a work of genius, they see it as a good Cantiga that uses the conventions of the genre well and expresses my ideas and thoughts capably. Very, very nice. We wrote this, effectively, to mock our opponent. I'll just say it, I love that this modifier actually brings down the cost of building in cities, but okay, the modifier is fine there. I'm essentially saying, don't worry too much about the actual urban life. Just live your good life in a rural environment if necessary. Now, let's keep befriending him here. I should be able to help along my attempt to befriend Count Egidio by presenting him with a gift. Right, a gift. Now, we are not a person that is stingy or anything, so I'm thinking, it is the thought that counts. We are fairly cheap. We don't want to give him anything that is too much. We are humble. We don't want to be embarrassed by buying something that is indeed far too expensive. I will give him a gift, though. I think that is in character. Now, he gives us a claim to the county. I gotta ask, how are we doing health-wise? That's my biggest question, honestly. I think I'll let you run it for another 21 months. If after these 2.5 years, well, 4 years, I guess, that we have now actually spent waiting for this claim, if we don't get a claim on the duchy, I will take the county and simply declare war for that, indeed. And there you go. We have befriended Egidio. We've met at a dance, and we come out as friends. You love to see it. Betrothed can marry. He won his war against Ida. That is a very important war, and this marriage actually just went through without our doing. And I hate this. Count Egidio, come on! You were such a good spymaster, and now you lose documents? I am very, very eager to see what he will actually do with Valois here. That's a big, big question. Oh my god! He banished her. And now Duchess Matilda has taken over, and Empress Borgonia has actually gained a county. What an insidious plot to oust, I should say, her mother, so that she and her husband could have a brighter future by holding more land together. I am blown away by the guile of these two people, and I think that we see through this. I think Alva looks at it and says, I understand what happened here. This wasn't something done because Ida was an adulterer. This was done to centralize power. Nuño and Borgogne were afraid of what may happen in France should Borgogne's mother turn against them, and so they took care of her. It's a smart strategy, and quite frankly, no matter how we look at it, we support the realm as a whole, but man, Nuño, that is remarkable. Very, very remarkable indeed. Only a nightmare. Awake, screaming, my heart beating fast. I had been chained naked or collared, while a dozen men and women with the head of goats descended on me, biting and tearing at my skin. Then suddenly I was one of them, ripping my own flesh with sharp teeth, swallowing scraps, drinking blood, slurping. I have never felt anything as horrifying as when I saw the life leave the eyes of my own ravaged body. But it was only a dream. It was only a dream. We appear to have some disassociation here for Prince Alva Philippe. I'm afraid of, maybe killing himself with his habits. Being in a position where everybody stands against him. It sounds like paranoia to me if you ask me. Why won't the memory of the taste leave my mind? You get a secret cannibal. Prayers for God's protection will calm me. He's not a person that is very zealous. He may praise, witchcraft and such, but after this dream, I gotta tell you, I think I will reject cannibalism here. I will reject it, I think, from the point of view where it is something that I can see Alva doing right next to dear Vea the most, out of all the characters that we have played, but I think that he sees this as even more despair. If anything, quite frankly, it pushes me towards maybe, considering, oh, it's no longer here, the option of ending ourselves. It is an existential dread. I don't think that he would turn cannibal here, but man, what an event, Jesus. Yeah, that is pretty crazy. And speaking of pretty crazy, by the way, I will be hosting a grand rite, I think. I would like to gather my children and attempt to at least, you know, coordinate all of us. The full moon rises, right? What will we do here? Obviously, we want to be impressive in our own right. I think I will rely on my charisma and improvise and see where that gets us. As I lead the crowd through the ceremony, I carefully study their reactions and adjust my words accordingly. Before too long, I'm riding on a wave of their excitement. Man, this sort of sycophant behavior where you do exactly what the persons or the people expect of you, so you know that they like you the most. That is exactly how I picture Alva. And he doesn't do it with any bad intentions. He does it because he thinks that that is what makes a man great, right? Before too long, I'm riding on a wave of their excitement. Passionate cheers fueling me as I build towards a magnificent crescendo. We reach it together, howling his name in the moon as one. My aunt is here. Oh, wait a minute. Why is she a nun all of a sudden? Queen Mother Elizabeth? I know Elizabeth, of course, yes. She was married to Gerardou. There he is. Why is she a nun? Interesting. Ask Elizabeth to instruct me in the art of poetry. I do kind of like this. We could just relax, I suppose, but honestly, Elizabeth, this family must stick together like we have in the past, and a part of that is that you teach me. And, I'm not at all interested in theologian theory. You know, the Basque faith doesn't work this way. Oh man, I am kind of interested in anatomical studies. I might even be interested in whole of body as a whole. I mean, we saw this sort of nightmare where we thought to ourselves, my god, I am killing myself. Maybe studying it will give us some peace of mind, right? I can kind of see us going towards the medicine focus. What an interesting character. The medicine focus is usually used because, you know, you as a player want to maintain yourself, you want to keep the character alive, but I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, man, I think he might actually be incredibly afraid of death because he has nothing to show. When he goes to heaven, if he goes to heaven or if he goes to hell, what will he tell his father? What will he say? He's been a disappointment his whole life, and as much as, you know, he knows this, he never ever wants to admit it. And if you want to not admit it, you need to do something about it, right? Very, very interesting. Now you want to blackmail me. Countess Constance of Genoa. It's that I'm a witch. Right. That secret got out because of my dear friend. I will keep my friend in the position because he is my friend, but honestly, Prince Alva, this is a difficult situation. We've had this in previous generations, where, for example, Elizabeth didn't want to admit that she was a witch because she feared what would happen to her loved ones. But Prince Alva Philippe, I feel like he's close to snapping. He wants to be who he is. That is just the way things are. I think I will decline. My secret exposed. I'm a witch. I lose a level of devotion. It doesn't exactly, you know, surprise me. We're looking at a situation where the Pope, literally the Pope, hates us. We've been exposed as a witch, and this now opens up the question, will he forgive us? Will he grant us a pardon? He won't. I think he might if I pay homage. I need to consider our next step here carefully. He had enough of being somebody that gets shoved around, that has achieved nothing in his name. He wants to be himself, and he doesn't think that witchcraft is immoral or that witchcraft makes him a bad knight, a bad gallant. Yeah, I think there are two things that I currently want to do. And that is very clearly in my mind killing her, and very clearly trying to get Nuño to agree that this shouldn't be an issue in our relationship. I think I might just initiate it, even if it goes wrong, quite frankly. I think he wants to see her dead. He has had enough of her. Somebody so far away betraying him like this, just incredible. A sudden shock. I have ridden, taken aim, and struck so many times I thought nothing could upset my rhythm. As I take yet another gallop down the practice range, a commotion I cannot fully see makes my horse rear up. For an instant, momentum keeps me pinned to the back of the horse as it starts shaking. Then, as if time is flowing slow, I can feel myself becoming dislodged. I will without a doubt attempt to calm the horse down. Alright, we did not succeed at all. I'm thrown into the hard-packed ground, the pain in this impact rushing through every bone in my body. The stable boy comes running just a little too late. Yeah, we will try to kill her, and I will immediately pay homage now. Now that we have been exposed, I need to visit Emperor Nuño. I need to tell him, Emperor Nuño, I'm not a threat. I'm not acting against you. These are just the right of our family. You know this as well as I do. You knew our father, you knew our family before them. I think I will owe you a hook. And let's see whether we can work it out afterwards. We are at still plus 84. Wait a minute. Okay, it does go up 20. Servants usher me into Emperor Nuño's great hall in Carcassonne, where he sits his throne waiting to hear my pledge. I kneel at the feet of my lord and pledge the many oaths of homage as the scribes record the event. Then comes my promise, that he may call on me for any favor as a loyal supporter of the Emperor in all his endeavors. Nuño bids me to arise and confirms his satisfaction along with my rights to the lands I rule in his stead. Right, Nuño. I beg you. Oh, and he is actually willing to do it now. Yeah, this actually fits perfectly. He knows what we are, but much like our father, he shows mercy. You know, with all the frustration that Prince Alva feels, with all the terror that I think he has been through, where he beats himself up over not being the perfect son, I think he has an incredible amount of love for Emperor Nuño. It's something that I saw discussed in the comments, and I love these discussions, don't get me wrong, whether I agree or disagree at the end of the day, you know, when we actually roleplay it, but I love these discussions, and I saw the discussions on the question of how do we actually feel about Emperor Nuño. But I have to tell you, Nuño has shown us nothing but understanding and love. We offered him basically our life on a silver platter, and he said, all I need is your allegiance, brother. That is all I need. And indeed, here we are. I'm very, very thankful to him, and quite frankly, I'm thinking about it now. I want to become his friend. I was doubtful about this in the past, but I am doubtful no more. Nuño is a good man and the right choice for the Empire. I can still be. Prince Alva can still be his own man. He can achieve something in his own right, but it shouldn't be against Nuño. It should not be against a man that good. My dear kinsman, your plea is just, and I find myself swayed by your arguments. I hereby pardon you of any and all current crimes in the eyes of the Eremata Imperio Santua in perpetuity. You shall remain a free man. And you know, it actually, this also makes me wonder. First of all, this definitely cements it for me. We will not create a cadet branch. We believe in the House Boscarantia with this character. I need to add this, because in the future, it may be different. But honestly, it makes me think. We are deceitful, but Countess Constance challenging us, didn't it make us a better man? I'll abandon this. And ultimately that arises to us effectively having done nothing, right, when it comes to acting against her. But I think internally Prince Alva has really, really developed. Now let's make our own fortune here, but never move against the Emperor. How many spoons? I overhear one of my servants muttering, oh dear, was it 2 spoons or 3? When I asked her what she was talking about, she tells me she forgot how much medicine she needed to take for her recent stomach pains. No idea myself, good luck. Actually, it should be 4 spoons. I do like that, and honestly, it really fits to me that we go even further now towards the medicine focus right here. Yeah, no, it should be 4 spoons. I think we have taken a profound interest in medicine. Now here's an event, while we become friends with Nuño. Respect and admiration. Considering my life's deeds, it's only natural. Right. I would like to brag to him. But then again, honestly, no. I discussed this, man. This episode is a real turner for me and how I perceive Alva as a character. I started earlier in this episode saying, I think in the future we want to brag more. But I think Prince Alva has realized that Nuño loves him the way he is. Look at that. It's an unconditional love. It's somebody looking at you and saying, you are my brother. I'm your brother, and we stand together. he doesn't need to lie to him. He can simply say, Nuño, you are a great emperor. He has a fundamental level of, I think, admiration here that I didn't expect before. Now, Countess Constance, listen, I forgave you, but I'm not attending your feast. You are out of your damn mind if you think I will attend your feast after you try to blackmail me. Let's go down to Peacemaker here. We'll pick up Gallant, and then I think we will switch to the medicine focus. That sounds about right for me. You know, yeah, actually, I really want this alliance as well. It's a symbolic alliance, but I really want that alliance. We stand as one, the children of Emperor Philippe, acting on my behalf. My wife spends a significant amount of time traveling the realm with her honor guard. There are many matters she can settle on my behalf, and the military presence Duchess Estefania brings with her is a firm reminder of my right to rule. Yeah, and that firm way of ruling is truly the only way that we know of, so this makes perfect sense to me. Make sure the people grovel appropriately, my dear, or my Duchess and I stand ready in defense of the realm. Yeah, that sounds about right. Man, where Prince Vea went into darkness, I think Prince Alva comes out on as an actual good person, you know? Now he, of course, he pushes this. I love that he says to my evil vassal. I assume that this is like a playful way of interacting with one another as brothers, you know? Oh, you son of a gun, give him more money, but alright, fair enough, we did owe him a hook, peace be with you. I regret to inform you that I have decided to increase your contractual obligations. Surely you understand my plight. The Eremita Imperius Santua is in dire need of protection, and your contribution plays a huge part. And besides, you do owe me. High levy contribution, right? I think this means that I can't change this contract at all anymore, yeah. So until I die, this is the way we live. I'm completely fine with this. I'm at peace, I think. My dear friend Emma has caught wind of my desire to improve my standing with Emperor Nuño and has offered me her aid. She assures me that she and Nuño are similar kinds of people. Emma knows precisely what I need to do to earn his trust. They are not friends. Emma de Valais. Ah, right. She is the daughter. Can I invite you? No, she's the daughter of the Duke of Transurania. Friedrich has now passed away, and his son actually took over, but she used to be there at some point, and that is when we became friends. Please do tell. You know what? Sure. I trust you, Emma. Why not? What are you gonna do with that hook? Destroy me? Come on. Training a warhorse. You know what? I like this as well. After we fell off our horse, we can now actually redeem ourselves here. As I inspect the stables, my gaze is drawn to a stallion kept away from all others. He throws his head and stomps his hooves, displaying his powerful hindquarters and well-arched neck. This creature has the best of conformations and the worst of tempers. I have never seen such a warhorse before, but the stable master insists that he is impossible to train. I would like to train him. Absolutely. Let's go ahead and actually do that, yeah. Training a warhorse. The horse pins his ears back as I approach, his disregard for me crystal clear. This first meeting is important to earn his trust and respect, and I need to decide how to go about it. Right, a steady hand is required to tame this beast. I'm good with prowess. I'm good with diplomacy. Intrigue, I'm also quite good. But I think to prove that we are a true and perfect knight, a steady hand is required to tame this beast. I will utilize my prowess and hope that it actually works. It is a mighty feeling. The powerful horse follows my every whim. Now that I have earned his trust, he seems almost fond of me. I will keep him as my personal warhorse. Absolutely. I will definitely keep him as my warhorse. This is our time. This is the moment that Prince Alva has waited for so long. For 60 years. He asked himself, who am I, where am I going, and what is my achievement? What is my legacy going to be? And slowly but surely, at this ripe old age, we are discovering our legacy indeed. Now when it comes to a name, I actually need to take a look at this. Charlemagne's horse, I mean, that is, how could I resist this, right? Charlemagne is a good idea. Roland's horse, I think is well a good idea. What about myth? What do we have here? King Arthur. I don't actually think any of these really call to me here. I will, I could just give it a random name. I think I will give it Tencendur, Charlemagne's horse. Absolutely. Tencendur shall be the name, because we see ourselves, you know, at least as an heir of Charlemagne. Not the emperor per se, but a good servant of the emperor. And that is as good as any, I think, a moment to pick up the gallant trait right here. Man, the level of personal development that we have undergone in this episode, I absolutely love this. He has emerged as a person that sort of has come to, you know, to understand his own shortcomings and simply accept himself. Instead of hating himself for it, I think we are much closer now to ending this. Now, I'm not sure whether I will actually... Should I end the episode here? No, you know what? I decided I would like to see whether we get a claim on the duchy in this episode. Let's just keep it running here. Offering relief. My efforts to get closer to Emperor Nuño have proven challenging, in no small part because of the pressure he is struggling to deal with. Perhaps it would aid me in more ways than one if I were to ensure him a day by himself, where he can go riding with a military patrol, ensuring they keep order appropriately. Yeah, I think that is something that where he can just get his mind off, and man, this guy is a genius when it comes to theology. This will require a lot, but it will be worth it. I will definitely assist him here. I want him to be my friend, and if that is what it takes, then so be it. There you go. We have become friends with Emperor Nuño. I love it, and oh my god. Bishop Anso, you have done a splendid, splendid job. He can actually lay claim to the entirety of Biscaya. I imagine that he is doing this based on, you know, the way the Basque code language has spread. He basically says, I mean, so when you look at this map, what I like about the Basque code language map is that this shows the soft power the Empire has currently, right? These areas are all indeed under the influence of the Holy Roman Empire, the Eromata Imperio Santua. I really do like this. And I think the reasoning for claiming the entire duchy is that that entire duchy lies on the path to Santiago, which is, of course, a question of protection for the Empire, which we are the son of the first reborn Empire. I will lay claim to the entire thing. And the next episode is when we will face our opponents and hopefully get this done. If we get this title, by the way, we will get all 3 of these counties. And I think that we are going to be looking, because of that, at a very nice inheritance situation that actually opens up almost all of the potential here of our children being married into different families. I am so excited for a Prince Alva that actually turned out not bad. Isn't that incredible? He actually did it. Wow. With that being said, I will see you tomorrow. Let me know what you think about this. You know what? Before we do this, let me just study the map a bit. I think we had a small rebellion here. Indeed, a Catholic now ruling in Hornish Leszko. Now, she is Slovene, but I think that she is surely in time going to turn Polish. If I'm... You know, if I had to guess, I would definitely assume that. There is a faction against the Emperor. I wouldn't want to be a part of that. And let me actually check here. Yeah, I don't know. We had a faction there, but it seems to all be good as is now. Other than that, I don't think too much really changed. You are under attack. Let me just check this. This is internal. This is between the Christians, and it could be our justification if you want, you know, for the question of course, I have to take the coast here because internally the Christians are far too often are infighting. How are you doing? Are you doing alright? Yep. Okay, Greece is indeed doing okay. Zlashk is doing okay. There is already a son of ours, Gielen, here. He's Catholic and Gasconniere. Let's hope that they will convert him to Polish. Would make everything a lot more interesting, in my opinion. Other than that, what do we have here? We are firmly, very firmly. Wow. So I tested this, and I oftentimes actually, I was honestly afraid that it would be too weighted towards conciliation, but I oftentimes saw conciliation win, but no such luck at all. We're actually looking at a firm hostility phase, whereas on, you know, the Iberian Peninsula, of course, the compromise phase has now entered the struggle period. I am beyond excited to see all of that develop. But honestly, for that, I will obviously have to see you in the next episode. In the next episode, where we will claim the north of Iberia, the north of Vizcaya, and are looking at a bit of a reborn Prince Alva, I think. I will see you in the next episode. Until then, later, alligator.